Warren County in 1993 regionalized 2 K-8 districts. They regionalized because, this is the best reason to regionalize, over an educational issue. They wanted to create a better middle school program for their students. And so they regionalized. They took advantage of the new Bagger formula, and the regionalization vote that they brought to their two towns was to do a 100% pupil count cost allocation. And the voters approved. At that point, Great Meadows was the only district in the state, regional district in the state, that had a 100% pupil count allocation. They took advantage of the statute. So then what happened? And I did a presentation at Warren County School Board Association in February 2006. And I had 3 members of the Liberty Board of Education come up to me after the presentation wanting to talk about the fact, they said, we're really happy that you talked about our district. We really appreciate the fact that, we're part of the presentation. They said, but we're not happy. We're not happy with the formula. Now, keep in mind, 93, 2006, 13 years, so the ability to change has kicked in. More than 10 years. The demographics hadn't changed, at least not significantly. The student populations were about the same, the equalized valuations were about the same, but the players changed. The community members changed, the board members changed. And these members on the Liberty Board said, we have more kids, and we're paying more, but we look over there, and we look at those folks in Independence, and they've got bigger homes and more equalized rateable valuation ratables, and they're really richer than we are. And you know what? We think they should pay more. I said, well, here's what you can do to try and change it. If you think that's the way to go, you're going to have to get everybody to agree. And here's the process. So what did they do? Well, the first thing that happened was, there's a lot of discussion. And then the Liberty governing body in February 2007 passed a resolution and filed it with the county superintendent in Warren County saying, we want to withdraw. Only 2 districts now, Liberty and Independence. I haven't quite figured out why a withdrawal in that situation would not be a dissolution, so I don't know what's left if one district withdraws. They never really talked about that in any decisions, but they petitioned to withdraw. It went to the Board of Review, and the Board of Review had a hearing in April. In May, issued a final decision, and ultimately said, we're not going to let you take this to the voters. Here's why. If you were to withdraw, the middle school program that you would be able to provide in Liberty would not be as good as the middle school program that is currently offered in Great Meadows. And you would also have to absorb a certain amount of debt and do some additional construction work, and it would be too expensive. It would be cost prohibitive for you. So there was an educational disadvantage, and there was a financial disadvantage. And you take a step back and say, well, of course there was an educational issue, because guess what? When they regionalized to start with, it was to get a better program. So now you've got the decision that comes down to what happens. The board, at the 2007 school election, puts before the voters a 50-50 question. Change the cost apportionment, 50% property values, 50% equalized valuation. Not surprisingly, Liberty, the community of Liberty, who would have benefited from that, voted yes. The community of Independence, who would have not benefited from that, voted no. So that didn't change. The Board of Review's decision was then appealed. It went through the commissioner and then ultimately to the appellate division of Superior Court, and in April 2009 the appellate division upheld the decision of the Board of Review. So Liberty and Independence sit where we are today. Just then, as they started, they sit here today with one of 2 100% pupil count valuations within the state. They need some. So it's one of those, be careful what you get in the beginning. Things change, people change. You might want to change it down the road. It's hard. West Windsor Plainsboro, a success story in this regard. In the 2008 school election, West Windsor Plainsboro changed from a 100% equalized valuation cost apportionment to a 100% pupil count apportionment. Got that everybody's attention. They were successful. Now, why were they successful? Probably one of the bigger reasons why they were successful is that there's not a big difference between the equalized valuation component and the per pupil count component. There's less than a 5% differential between the two districts. So it wasn't a drastic change either way. A couple of things about West Windsor Plainsboro. How many are familiar with either West Windsor or Plainsboro? About 10 or 15. On the Route 1 corridor, just north of Princeton. One of the concerns of the board, and by the way, 5 seats, 5 for West Windsor, 4 for Plainsboro. One of the concerns of the board was to come up with a formula that was going to be stable. The concern was looking at the commercial ratables on Route 1 and watching values go up and values go down. And companies leave and buildings being empty and companies coming in. And West Windsor Plainsboro is kind of interesting because not only are they two different towns in two different counties. West Windsor's in Mercer County, Plainsboro is in Middlesex County. So you've got another dynamic in there too. Each town, as it will, assesses property differently. Each town will, on occasion, give tax breaks to incoming industry to try to get people to come in and bring their businesses there. And the board was concerned that you would get, they wanted to avoid those fluctuations. So that was one of the driving forces that led them to put the ballot question up in 2008. I will tell you it was a 9-0 vote of the board to put the question forward. It was something that was done with a lot of work and a lot of research. The board had, one of the board members was a retired demographer. And he was very enthusiastic about the whole, doing the demographic studies. According to the assistant superintendent in West Windsor Plainsboro, this gentleman was known on every construction site by all the construction managers in the area by first name. Because he would go and see, what are you building, how many units, how many bedrooms, do you have contracts in place, are they families, are they not families? I mean, I don't know if this is true, but the assistant superintendent said he was also known to go to people who had just moved into these homes or other parts of the townhouses, whatever it may be, and look to see how many pregnant women were there, so he could come up with the student population down the road. But maybe that's an urban myth, I don't know, but he said that to me, so I share it with you. He was very upset when the actual demographic study that he had put together was off by 10 students. 10 students. And he even wrote a multi-page report to the board explaining his calculations and how he did it. The other piece that was interesting in terms of the demographics of West Windsor Plainsboro, 2 high schools. Unlike you. If you guys are doing budget tonight and maybe addressing the question on this, think about this one. If this were before you done. The board made a determination that they wanted to make the district and the 2 high schools as homogenized as possible. So each high school has a 60-40 student split. It's not based on where you live totally. West Windsor Plainsboro North has 60% of its students from West Windsor and 40% of its students from Plainsboro. West Windsor Plainsboro South has 60% of its students from West Windsor, 40% of its students from Plainsboro. One of my co-workers, Donna Kay, lives in West Windsor, and she said when that decision was made to redistrict at the board level, it was very, very controversial. Can you imagine? Wow. But, I mean, I don't know if they had foresight or they thought that was good. What the assistant superintendent said to me was that the thing they've noticed is you don't see stickers on cars that say West Windsor or Plainsboro. You see stickers on cars that say North and South. And it's sort of combined the identity of the district. So, kind of a unique set of circumstances here. Unique in the sense that the demographics are very similar. They did their homework. They got a lot of research. They all trusted the data. That doesn't always happen. But trusted the numbers that they were looking at. And they all bought in and moved forward with it. And the communities approved it. So starting with the 2009-10 school year, they went to 100% pupils. Here's the second district that I'm aware of that has done that is successful. Like I said, it's never dull. Central Regional. Central Regional is fun. Around 2005 or so, they started to look at the issue, as a lot of short communities do. When you look at who makes up Central Regional, this is not on your slide. This is what I added last time. And I would be glad to send you the actual PowerPoint. Berkeley Township, populated with a lot of senior citizens. Ocean Gate, Island House, Island Heights, two small towns on the mainland on the Route 37 corridor there, going from the Parkway to Seaside Heights, Seaside Park. And Seaside Park and Seaside Heights. Two short communities, big gradables, not a lot of kids. You already see the demographic. We're paying $37,000 per kid to go to the Central Region. It's not fair. And so the discussions begin. Ultimately, what happened was, around late 2005, early 2006, and